All right, so chapter 11 is mostly payroll, and payroll is something that you just don't want to mess up. So that's kind of why I do this chapter, because I want you to understand payroll, be able to do it if you have to, and at the very least, if you need to look at your payroll stub, at least you understand what it is doing. So let's go ahead and start with E11. So we're dealing with straight pay, and then we're dealing with time and a half. So typically when you work overtime, you get more pay. In this case, it's time and a half. So then we have 20% of federal income tax. We have FICA tax and an $8 contribution to United Way. So the first thing to do is let's go ahead and calculate his gross pay. So we had 40 at 8, and then everything over that is going to be time and a half, and you worked a total of 56 hours, so we're going to have 16 hours at 8 times 1.5, which is 12. Okay, so we're looking at gross pay of 512. Gross pay is that pay that you have before any of the taxes or any deductions are taken out. Okay, so then let's go ahead and figure out what his gross pay is. So we have 512. Now let's take out our federal withholding, which they said was 20%. Okay, I did a negative in there, so because we're going to subtract. And then we have FICA tax, so our Medicare, let me do a negative there. And let's do our social, oh, that was Social Security, sorry. And Medicare. Okay. And then he also had United Way. So the net pay is 362.43, or the number up here says 44, just a rounding issue. We rounded further than the book did. So that's his net pay there. So the next step is to go ahead and journalize the expenses for the company. So the company also pays the same Social Security and Medicare taxes. Now he's already made $11,000, so they've already paid all of their unemployment taxes, their FUTA and their SUTA. So what we are going to do now is go ahead and make a journal entry. There's two things that we need to consider. One is his actual pay with his withholding taxes, and then we also need to talk about what the company owes on their side. So let's do his side first. So we have wage expense, and I'm going to take the full amount, 512. That's how much in wages he has. Now, I have all these other payables that I have here, because what happens is that we don't pay him, for example, this federal withholding, we hold on to it ourselves, and then we send a check to the IRS. So I'm going to have federal withholding payable, and payable is a credit, so that's going to be 102.40. And then I'm going to have FICA payable, and I'll just add these two together. So that's 39.17. 39.17. I have United Way payable, which is 8. So then we have his net pay. That's what we're actually giving him in cash. So let's say we pay him today. So then I would lower my cash by 362.43. $43. So this is going to be your journal entry to actually pay him. Well, we've also incurred some expenses on his behalf as well. So not just what we have to withhold on his behalf, but the company itself actually is going to owe federal taxes as well, the FICA taxes. So we're going to say payroll tax expense. And that expense is going to be your FICA tax. So that's $39.71. They owe the exact same tax as the employee does. And then we're going to, so that's payroll tax expense. And then we'll just call that again, FICA payable of $39.71. So this is on behalf of the employee. And then this is what you owe as a business owner as well. One last thing I did want to mention is watch your floors and your ceilings. In most cases, it's the ceilings. So, and I'll just write it down. So make sure that you as a company are paying FUTA and SUTA tax under $7,000 for each employee. Also, once the employee has reached a ceiling, and it varies year to year. I think in this book it was $118,000 if I'm not mistaken. But make sure that once they reach that, they don't have to pay that Medicare, excuse me, the Social Security anymore, the Social Security tax, the Social Security tax ceiling. And I think again that was 118,000, but for the sake of any test or homework, they'll give you the ceiling number for that. So make sure that you understand, and the company does not have to pay that either. So once those ceilings are reached, then you do not pay those taxes anymore. So just make sure you keep an eye out for that so that you know what you need to do if you're right on the border of these ceilings.